Hey guys, we have been gone for like 2 weeks. Can you believe it, Nando? We missed last week. There was no fighting. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I want to introduce you to Nando, the mad scientist of MMA. You gotta love that hair, bro. Okay, but he's got all the numbers, he's got the stats, he's got the things that you care about, and that's why we love him. All right, guys, we have a stacked card, and I mean stacked. Nando, what's your thoughts before we get into this whole thing of UFC 280?
I've been thinking about it all week. I've been watching nothing but like breakdowns. I've been watching interviews, watching anything I can get my hands on, and just trying to get my view because I'm wishy-washy on some of these fights. I don't know what to think. And I like to say for the Cody Sanhagen, Cheeto Vera, we got 4-4 in our bets. So we went even. There's no walk of shame this week.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's pretty cool. So we were even.
Yeah, 4-4.
Okay, but now
I did better at the main events. You did better at the earliers.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now though we've got Nando's alter ego, the mad scientist of MMA. So I'm suspecting and expecting that his picks are going to be on target this week. All right, guys, we have got a stacked card. We're crazy excited about this card. UFC 287. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down and we're going to make our picks. This week, we're going to start from the top and work our way down to the bottom and try and make sure we got time for everybody that's fighting and make sure that they get mentioned at the very least. Okay, guys, let's begin with the championship middleweight title bout between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya. And we've got a plus 115 for Alex Pereira and a minus 135 for Adesanya. So he's a favorite going into this. What you got on this one?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Alex Pereira's 35, Izzy's 33. Alex has 7-1. He has he's from Teixeira MMA. He has wins over Izzy and Sean Strickland. Izzy's 33, 23-2. City kickboxing. He lost to Alex and he lost to Jan Blachowicz. He needs to keep his lead leg back. That was one of the main things that kind of messed up him being a little more fluid. He's faster than Alex. He needs to have urgency. He needs to keep Alex against the cage, and he needs to make this his fight. He cannot win this by decision because Alex in the 3 fights, the main fight we're talking about is this fight. The other fights, but Alex does better in the late rounds, and it's not that he wins a decision. He just knows that he can empty the gas tank. When he knows he can empty the gas tank, he's not fearful of Izzy knocking him out at the later round. So he just goes balls to the wall and he empties his gas tank. So it's going to be interesting. What Izzy has to do is he has to be urgent. He almost beat him in the first round. He needs to try to put him out of there. He cannot win a decision. And if he's going to win a decision, he has to know that he has enough in his gas tank for that last round because Alex is going to come after him and it's going to be and this is the last fight, I think, for them. Nobody wants to see. If Izzy wins, I think Alex goes up. He has a better chance of beating the light heavyweights. So light heavyweights, there's not a lot of grapplers in that light heavyweight division right now. Glover quit, and his best fight is Yuri and Jamal Hill. What do you think? And then we'll make our pick.
Well, that's pretty good analysis. There's a couple of differentials that I would add to that. I like that you said that, in the later rounds, Pereira empties his gas tank. The one thing that I noticed, because I rewatched the fight again, the one thing that I noticed when he rocked Izzy, when he smells blood, he doesn't go hog wild. What he does is he's very measured, and his strikes are like on point, and he hurts. He was hurting Adesanya big time. But I watched it really carefully. In fact, I played it back a few times, and I watched him, and he was measured, and he was waiting. He wasn't just going, throwing hooks to try and get him out of there. He was measured, but they came in fast. So he's hitting him, and every hit was rocking him a little bit more, and just taking it all away from Adesanya and breaking his spirit to even want to be in there anymore, because he was pretty hurt. And early in the rounds, yes, Adesanya has he's faster, but both of them have equally good leg kicks. I thought Alex had a few more better kicks in that fight. But Adesanya, he needs to make sure that he can, if he gets into a storm, because we've seen Alex Pereira weather the storm. Okay, we haven't seen that with Adesanya, and that includes the other fights outside of the UFC. When they fought, because he's beat him 3 times. And but when he needs to be able to weather that storm. If he can, I do agree with you. Adesanya, in order to win, he's got to do it early, 1 to 3 rounds. But if he doesn't, he has to stay more measured. He's got to keep more distance, and that's a problem, because Pereira's got great reach. They both got really good length. So I don't know. That's a tough thing to try to break it down, because they're both very well matched. We got Adesanya with the advantage early in the fight, and then we got Pereira with the advantage later in the fight. Here's the main thing for me. That is the psychological game, and that knowing that you're going in there, that you've lost to this dude 3 times, that he pulls it out in the end, that could cause Adesanya to be desperate in the first couple of rounds and take more chances to try and get him out of there, knowing that every fight Pereira came back in the end and beat him. And so that's going to be weighing on Adesanya's mind, in my opinion. And so he needs to be careful and make sure that his strikes are pinpoint and that he's not winging it. Because Pereira already proved that he will stay on task, even if he's tired or even if he gets rocked. He's not going to start winging punches, which could get anybody in trouble.
Yeah, I think the opposite. I think he needs to close the distance. Think he needs to keep him against the cage. I think he needs to, like when we were kids, give him dead legs. And
who are you talking about?
Izzy. I think
Izzy needs to close the distance.
I think he needs to close the distance, keep him against the cage, keep him, because Alex has a bigger distance. He's a bigger guy. He needs to keep it in, dirty boxing, dead legs with the knees to the thighs, and then move back. But he's got to keep him against the cage in the first 2 rounds and try to win it like that.
Okay.
So now, who are you picking?
So I'm picking. I'm going to go with Pereira. I think Adesanya has a great chance to win this, but I think Pereira is going to be in his head a little bit, and I think he's going to make a mistake. It's only going to take 1 mistake, and we've seen that Pereira can get rocked and come back, because he was rocked. The bell saved his butt, but when he came back, it was like that didn't happen. And so, Izzy, I don't think he has that. I don't think he can come back if he gets rocked.
I'm going with Izzy. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going with Izzy. I think Izzy has it. He's a better fighter. But, it's power versus technique. And Alex does have good technique, too. He's not a slob with his punches, but he's... Yeah, I thought it was really weird that Alex was wearing like a Pikachu jacket or something in his interview. He said that someone just gave it to him. I think it was calculated. That was a weird, why does
it was calculated? Come on, he's already mocked Adesanya for his toys.
Yeah.
So you're picking Israel. All right,
The
there we
first
go.
3 rounds.
Okay, let's move on. We got another big fight, and this one, the only reason why I think Jorge Masvidal is in this position is because of his popularity, because
Yes.
he's lost 3 in a row, and he shouldn't be in that position, but he's popular and he's exciting to watch, and that's what the UFC likes. So it makes sense, that he's in that position. And then you got Gilbert Burns. This is going to be an interesting fight because if Gilbert loses to Masvidal, that's going to drop his stock quite a bit, in my opinion. And if it even though Masvidal has lost 3 in a row, if Gilbert beats him, it's going to up his stock because Masvidal, let's just admit it, he's a superstar. He's a superstar.
What are their rankings? I forgot to put down
their rankings.
See what the rankings are.
I don't have their rankings. They're not listed there. Yeah, they're not listed. So, but the odds are in minus 490 for Gilbert Burns and a plus 390 for Masvidal. So that's a big spread. And they're picking, of course, Gilbert Burns to win, but he still has to win in spectacular. Whoever wins has to win in spectacular fashion, and it cannot go to a decision because that won't help either one of them, in my opinion. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Gilbert Burns is 36, 21-5, 3 of the last 5. He's from Kill Cliff Fight Club, which used to be Black Zillions. He's still training under Henry Hoof. He has wins over Neil Magny. He lost to Hamzat, went over Wonder Boy. He's a harder puncher, better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Jorge Masvidal's 38, 35-16, 3 of the last 6. So he lost 3 in a row. He won 3 in a row before that. He has wins over Nate, Askren, and Till, training with Bo Nickel, which is good. Better, cleaner punches. And he's already kind of given up. He said if he doesn't win this, he's going to retire, which I don't like when people say that.
One foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah, I don't really like that. He's got a lot of fires that he's got to stoke. He's got a lot of things. So Gilbert Burns is good. He's a hard puncher, but he's kind of sloppy with his punches. He leaves himself open. So if I was Gilbert Burns, I would hit him, take him down, hurt him, up and down, up and down. Jorge just wants to stand. His wrestling, I don't know. With the Bo Nickel, I don't know how much Bo Nickel can help him, but Bo Nickel is a bigger guy, but he's a longer guy. Gilbert Burns is a smaller, stockier guy, so I don't know if that helps him. That's going to be a different. And Bo Nickel is technically a wrestler, like he has technical moves. Gilbert Burns doesn't have those technical moves. He has a wrestling jiu-jitsu. So his moves that he's going to do isn't going to be what a wrestler would do to take you down. It's going to be what a jiu-jitsu practitioner is going to do to take you down. There's certain moves he's going to put him in to put him into jiu-jitsu moves.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And that's smart too. Here's the thing that Masvidal really has that's really good, I think. He's got the best poker face in the game. I mean, you never see he looks gassed, even though he is gassed, because you can tell by his movement, but his face doesn't show it, man. He's got a great poker face. But I think if you look at the body types, Gilbert Burns has a lot of that short, like you said, short muscle. And if he gets Masvidal on the ground, he's going to pretty much do to him what Covington did to him, and he's going to keep him down. But the difference between Burns and Covington is Burns has got a better ground and pound, and he can put some serious hurting on Masvidal. And Masvidal, but if Masvidal keeps his distance, he could pick Burns apart, because you've seen Burns get hit a lot in the head, and that's Masvidal's specialty. So if he can stay off, he's got to stay off the cage. Masvidal, if you watch this, stay off the cage, man. Stay off the cage, because Burns will get you down. Keep us in the middle of the octagon, and you'll pick him apart. So who do you got? I'm really curious about the mad scientist, man. Who do you got?
I gotta go with the favorite. I think Gilbert Burns has everything to beat him. I think Matt Masvidal, when it comes to the bigger names, like he lost to, I'm trying to think he lost to Wonder Boy, and then he lost to Usman twice. And what it is when someone wrestles him, and like Wonder Boy just outpointed him and did what he wanted. So I think Gilbert Burns is gonna submit him second round.
Okay, so you think it's going to be a finish? Okay. I'm going to have to go with Burns as well. I like Masvidal. I like his character, but you can't look past Gilbert Burns, man. You cannot look past him. All right,
It's not ranked, but I bet you Gilbert Burns is in the top four at least.
Yeah, yeah. And he's put in his dues, he's put in his dues. But like you said, that's the other big point I'd like to make is what you said. And that is, Masvidal says, if I lose, I'm going to have to think about, something else. And that's not a good mindset to go into. Because if you're already talking about that, I wouldn't ever talk about that. I would talk about it after if I lost. But
yeah, then he was hinting that a lot of these people have injuries. I just don't say I have injuries, which you're kind of saying that you do have injuries by saying that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, next up we have Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez, and this one is a bantamweight bout. It's a great fight. This is
so matchup. Crazy.
Woo, baby. We've got a plus 155 for Rob Font and a minus 180 for Mr. Yanez. And give me your breakdown on this, and then pick it, and then I'm going to pick mine.
Okay. Rob Font's ranked 6. Yanez is 12. Rob Font is 35, 19-6, 3-5, City Dong. He lost to Marlon Vera, Jose Aldo. He picks his punches. He has a great guillotine. He's from the New England Cartel. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Adrian Yanez is 29, younger guy, 16-3, 9-fight win streak, Metro fight. He has a karate stance, nice body shots and combos. He has lots of heart, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he has great head movement. The thing about Rob Font is he's a great boxer, but he's a boxer. He takes a lot of punches. He's a tough guy. I don't like that he takes too much punches. He'll give you punches, but he'll take punches. Now, Adrian Yanez has a karate stance, but he doesn't use a lot of his karate. He doesn't use a lot of his jiu-jitsu, and they kind of nullify each other. For Yanez, he's going to need to take him down. He's going to need to show that jiu-jitsu that he has, and he's going to have to cut Font off. Font has a lot of wear on him, and I think Yanez needs to go in there. He has harder punches. Rob Font punches a lot, punches and bunches, but he doesn't have a sting on it. He doesn't knock anybody down. He wins by decision. Yanez has knocked 3 people out. So I'm going to go with Yanez.
You're going with Yanez? Okay. So I like the analysis. I think both guys, this is a very close match as far as fighting styles goes. And but I don't think either. I think both guys need to move their heads more. They're got to have more movement because they like throwing those punches, man, and they'll get in the mix, and neither one will back down, And so there's a good chance somebody's getting knocked out, or TKO'd. But I've seen Rob Font, and both of them have had a kind of a long layoff too. So whether they're fresh and don't have any injuries coming into this fight, with a lot of that pounding of camps, of long camps, I think that's a good thing for both of these guys. But the one thing that I have seen with Rob Font in the last few fights is he has slowed down just a little bit. So there's taken off a little bit of his speed. He's still very accurate in his punching. But again, neither one of these guys, and in particular Font, I believe, doesn't move his head a lot because he's getting hit, He's getting hit a lot. And Yanez's last fight, he was controlling the dude, but he was still getting hit. I mean, he got cut open pretty good somewhere around here. But I was watching that fight again too, and he was taking some shots. You know, he was, like you said, he was taking them to give them, and his were more devastating, obviously. But he was fighting out of anger too, because he didn't like the guy. The guy was talking a lot of smack. I see a lot of respect between these two fighters. I think they're going to show respect, and I think that first round is going to be a lot of feeling out process, and then they're going to start getting to it. And I do think it's going to be a finish, and I am picking Yanez for the win.
Oh man, I'm glad to see that you're listening now. I do think this is going to be fight of the night, probably.
Could be, or this next one. We have Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, welterweight bout. We've got Kevin Holland at a -245 and Ponzinibbio at a +205. And that's surprising to me. That's kind of a wider spread than I would expect. Give me your take on it. What do we got?
Okay, Ponzinibbio is 36, 29-6, 205. American top team. He has wins over Alex Moreno. Pressure punches, great jabs, likes to keep against the cage with punches. He doesn't like to push you against the cage physically, but he'll punch you against the cage, try to keep you. Kevin Holland, 30, 23-9, 2-1 of the last 5. Flanax MMA lost to Stephen Thompson and Hamzat. Nothing to hang your head about. Very athletic, kicks up the middle, likes to talk when he fights. Great grappling, keeps the distance. And he also likes to pick fights with other fighters on the card. He likes to get some other fights in the fire, which I don't understand. It's so weird. So I think Kevin Holland has better grappling. He's with Jamal Hill, he's with Terrence Kinney, he's with some good guys. Ponzinibbio, though, is laser focused, great punches, great, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland, and if something mysteriously happens, like the Nate Diaz, I'm going with Kevin Holland over Jorge Masvidal if something weird happens. Giving both of my bets now.
That's interesting. All right, well, so I've seen Ponzinibbio over the last few fights change his style a little bit, and he's become, like you said, he's become a little more focused, and he's got a good fighting style. The big difference for me on these two guys is the gas tank. I think that Holland doesn't get tired. He's got a pretty good cardio going on. Ponzinibbio is got a good cardio, but it's not like Kevin Holland's. And if Kevin Holland can get him on the ground and grapple him, tie him up with those long limbs, he has the ability to tire him out. And I don't think it's going to finish on the ground. I think it's going to finish on the feet. But I think Holland can gas him out and just make him slower. And then when he's slower, then Holland will start picking him apart. And I think it's going to be with leg kicks too. I think Holland's going to kick him a lot to really slow him down and then start to pick him apart. So I'm also picking Holland for this fight. And not because of the odds, just because of the fighting style. But I wouldn't put anything past it. For me, it's not like a cut and dried type of thing, because Ponzinibbio can certainly win this fight. But I think the things that I just mentioned, gives Kevin Holland the edge. And I don't know if it's going to be a finish or not. I'm going to say it's a unanimous decision.
For who, Ponzinibbio?
Yep. No, for Holland. I'm picking Holland.
Okay. Well, we're picking a lot of the same right now. This is a very interesting fight right here.
Yeah. And the next one up, we have Raul Rosas Jr., who's 18 years old. He started at 17.
Yeah.
He had to get his parents' permission, sign the waiver to fight in the UFC at 17. And then he's fighting Christian Rodriguez. Both of them have really good records. We've got a -225 for Rosas and a +190 for Rodriguez. What do you got on this one?
Rosas 18, 7-0, 10th Planet, Las Vegas, Fortis MMA. Very aggressive, very confident. I don't know if that's good or bad. He's a little too confident for me, but good back control. Christian Rodriguez, 25, 8-1, 405 Rufus Sport, win over Josh Reams, great grappling, great pressure, kicks down the middle. He's with Rufus Sport, so he's training with Duke Rufus. He's training with the Pettis brothers. He's, Askren goes over there and helps, and Askren was helping him with this camp. So Rule Rosa, 10th Planet, Las Vegas, great grappling, great jiu-jitsu, great wrestling. It's going to be interesting. I think he's, he's a little too confident. He's saying he's going to be a 3 champion before he's 21. He's not even ranked yet. You know what I mean? And this will get him to a fight that will get him ranked, but this is not a ranked fight. I just think Christian Rodriguez, I like his style. I like his team. And I think he knows what's on the line. If he beats this guy, turns him into the next Sage Northcutt, then it's great for him. You know what I mean? It's a big, I think the other guy thought, hey, this is an 18-year-old kid, But Rosa is, a prodigy. He's good. I'm just not all the way on the hype yet. He beats Christian Rodriguez, I'll be on the hype. But I'm going with Christian Rodriguez.
Okay. All right. I'm going to first of all tell you right off the bat, I'm going to pick Rosas to win this fight, simply because of his ground game. When he gets you down, he doesn't let you up. And you can scramble. He's gotten scrambled out of some of his holds. He doesn't have a vice grip, but he does once he gets the back, and he's like the human backpack, and when he gets your back, then you're in some serious trouble, man, because he does not release it. And I saw him do a triangle, from a weird angle. I'm like, how did he do that? And he locked his leg around the hip and locked that in, and then just slowly, like a python, man, strangled his last opponent. And he knows what he's doing. For as young as he is, in my opinion, he does have some serious skills. Like, he's been fighting a lot longer. He doesn't seem to be bothered by the lights of the UFC. By all that, I think you're right. He is very confident, and that can be a detriment in some cases. But you're coming up against a guy like Rodriguez, who comes from a really good camp. If he beats him, he's already. Well, this should tell you everything you need to know, Nando. Rosas and Rodriguez are on the main card of a major fight. So that tells you a lot right there. And I know Chris Curtis, he got a little peeved because I think he got bumped because of these guys. So he was a little.
I don't get why he's so upset. He's the headliner of the prelims. More people are going to watch him.
Yeah.
You have to think the good and the bad.
With that said, I'm going to pick Rosas, and I'm going to pick it with a submission. All right. Next up, we've got the middleweight bout with Chris Curtis versus Kelvin Gastelum. This is another really good matchup, great fight. And judging from the interviews, Gastelum doesn't have any injuries. He's feeling good. He's been out for a while. Curtis hasn't been out that long, and he needs to make his name off of Gastelum. Gastelum's kind of becoming that, stepping stone, the gatekeeper type of a guy, and he wants to dispel that now on this fight, based on the things that he was saying. He's like, I'm not the gatekeeper, man. I'm going for the gold again, and it's time. So we've got there's no odds posted on the UFC website for these guys. What's your take on it?
Chris Curtis is 35. He's ranked 14. 30-9 for a 5 Extreme Couture win over Joaquin Buckley, Fast Hands PFL alumni. likes to fill out and then get going. Kevin Gastelum's 31, 16-8, 1 of 5. He's from Fight Ready. 2 losses. Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, great wrestling. Henry Cejudo is working with him. He pushed against the cage, great overhand. I think Cejudo's really working with him a lot. I think he's, Cejudo's a really good coach, and he's a really good guy to break down stuff. I think Cejudo's really looking at this, looking at what's good with him and what's bad with him, trying to figure out. Like Cejudo says, it doesn't matter if you're interesting or you do these great fights or fight of the night. It just matters if you win.
I agree with you there.
So I think Gastelum has this. I think he has more. He's going to have to go back to the wrestling, go back to the mats, work on that. And I think he's going to take Chris Curtis down. But Chris Curtis does have a wrestling background. But I would say that overhand right is what's going to win it for Kevin Gastelum.
That's a killer. That's a killer overhand, man. That's scary because I saw what it did to Izzy too. Yeah. I am looking at I'm gonna do my heart and my brain thing. My heart is with Kelvin Gastelum. My head is with Chris Curtis. I think Chris Curtis is hungrier. He talked a lot about it in his interviews about how he has took him so long to get to this point, and he doesn't want anything to drop his stock. And so I think he's got a lot more to prove to himself in particular. And I've seen Kelvin's had so many great opportunities, and he's lost the really big ones. He's lost the really big opportunities that he's had. And I've followed him ever since Tough, that he was the least likely dude. In fact, he was the last one to be picked on that season he was in of Tough, and he won the whole thing. But I just don't think that he has that finishing prospect anymore. Even with a big right hook, I still think Curtis is going to pull it. I just think because he's a little bit hungrier.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the women's strawweight bout, and we have Michelle Waterson Gomez back again with versus Luana Pinheiro. And there's no odds on that fight either. And it's a women's strawweight bout. What do you got?
I got Waterson is ranked 10th. She's 18-10. She's 37, 1 of 5. Jackson Winklejohn. 2 losses, Amanda Lemos and Morena Rodriguez. I like her karate hottie style. Luna, how do you say her name? Pinheiro, 29, 10-1, 8-fight winning streak, Contenders alumni, Nova União. Are we picking on these ones too?
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Luna.
See, and I'm going with her too, because the one thing that Michelle Waterson, I don't think she really has that well is the ground game that she needs to win a Brazilian. I think it's going to end on the ground. But the Luana's got a pretty good record too, 10-1. So you can't discount that, even though Waterson has a lot of experience. And I believe Waterson just signed another deal with the UFC for some more fights.
For 9 fights, like Holly Holmes.
Yeah, I thought she was kind of towards the end because she hasn't been doing super great, but I'm still picking Luana for that one. All right, next up we have a middleweight bout, Gerald Meerschaert versus Joe Pfeiffer. And this one is going to be interesting. Meerschaert is always the underdog, and he's been kicking butt, man. He's always the underdog, but he's been winning, and I like that. So this is a middleweight bout. We've got a plus 160 for Mearshart and a minus 190 for Joe Pfeiffer. What do you got?
Mearshart 35. He's 35-15. 4-5. Rufus Sport wins over Bruno Silva. Pfeiffer's 26, 10-2, 4-5. Team Balance contender, 3-win streak. I'm gonna go with Mearshart.
You're going to Mearshart? Okay. I'm going to have to go with Mearshart as well. I like the dude. He came back from the ashes like a phoenix rising, man. So I'm going to go with Mearshart. He's not. Pfeiffer is faster. Mearshart's kind of slow, but he hits really hard. So I'm going to go with Mearshart on that one. All right. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Okay, we're going to go with last fight on the prelims. We've got a heavyweight bout: Carl Williams versus Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman's fighting a lot lately. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a heavyweight bout. We got a plus 190 for Carl Williams and a minus 225 for Chase. What do you got?
Chase Sherman's 33. He's 16-11. One of the last 5. Needs to maybe take some breaks between these fights because he has a loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta. Carl Williams is 33, 8-1, 5-fight win streak. American Top Team Atlanta. He's a contender alumni. I'm not really familiar with Carl Williams, but he does have a 5-fight win streak. Chase Sherman is a little slower, if I remember right. I don't remember that Waldo Cortez being like a really great fight, so I'm gonna go with Carl Williams.
Okay. And I'm going to go with Chase Sherman because I just think his ring experience, his octagon experience, is going to help him and fight a little bit smarter. And he's been pretty good about when he takes shots. He's been pretty good about coming back. No, he doesn't fold. You see some fighters, they start to fold and then they turtle up, and we've talked about that in the past. Sherman's not that dude. He's not that guy. And he'll come back and fight. And even if he's hurt, he'll come back and fight. So I'm going to pick Sherman on that one. All right, now we're going to go to the early prelims to round this card off. We said we were going to talk about everybody because we want to give everyone some love here at Knuckle Sandwich MMA. By the way, did I welcome everybody to Knuckle Sandwich MMA? If I didn't, welcome. All right, so the early prelims, we're starting off with Cynthia Calvillo versus Lupe Godinez. Another good fight. This is man.
Those are two good fighters. Two really good fighters.
Yeah, they took their time on this card because they're saying we got to get the best matchups and we want the most exciting fights for this super important card. And so we've got Calvillo versus Godinez at the women's strawweight bout. And we've got a plus 230 for Calvillo and a minus 275 for Lupe. What do you got?
Calvillo is ranked 15. She's right on the bottom. Calvillo is 35, 9-5, 1-5, Tiger Muay Thai, 4 losses. Nina Nunez, Andrea Lee, Jessica Andrade, and Caitlin Chokagan. Lupita Godinez is 29, 8-3, 3-5. Team Titan lost to Angela Hill. Angela Hill's still in it. And it's very interesting. Calvillo is a great wrestler, but she doesn't seem to be able to put these girls away. And I think that's what's happening is they're outlasting. She has good gas tank. It's just she doesn't have enough power at the end, and they start piecing her up. Godinez is 29, and Angela Hill. I remember it a little bit, and I remember it was just a stand-up war, like they're fighting in a phone booth. I'm gonna go with Calvillo's 35, Godinez 29. I'm gonna go with Calvillo.
You're gonna go with Cynthia Calvillo? Oh,
Calvillo, yeah.
You surprised me. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go with Lupe Godinez, because I've seen Cavillo kind of give up the ghost a few fights when she feels like she's losing. Then she starts to lose even more. I don't see that she has a huge comeback spirit, and it's no slam on her by any means. But we mentioned a little bit previously about people turtling up and stuff like that, and I've seen her do that a few times when she starts getting pieced up, and then she doesn't come back. There's nothing to come back with. And Lupe, I've seen the opposite, and it's probably because she's a lot younger in the sport as well, and younger in age as well. So she's got more of the fighting spirit to go in and keep going and moving forward. But I like her style as well. I think she's fearless. She's pretty good puncher, and she moves forward a lot. So I'm going to go with Lupe with a decision win on that one.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have a catchweight bout. And we've got Ignacio, I'm going to massacre his name, Bahamondes versus Trey Ogden at a catchweight bout. And we've got a minus 345 for Ignacio and a plus 285 for Trey. What's your thoughts on this one?
Okay. Ignacio's 25, 13-4, 4-5. Valet Flow striking 2-fight win streak right now. Trey Ogden's 33, 16-5, 4-5. Marathon MMA. His last fight was a win. I tried to look up why it was a catchweight, but I don't remember why. I don't think I've found anything. I'm gonna go with Ignacio.
Okay. I'm also going to go with Ignacio. If you look at his last fights, that dude's pretty vicious, man. When he smells blood, he's pretty vicious dude. Very aggressive. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I've seen Ogden fight, so I'm basing just Ignacio's last performances on why I'm picking him. But it looks like he's got a little bit of a reach, a 75.5 inch reach over 72 for Trey, and leg is comparable, 42 and 41. But the height, we've got 6'3", 5'11", so should be a good fight. But again, I'm going to go with Ignacio on that one. And next up, we have Shailan Nurbanbeek at a featherweight bout versus Steve Garcia. And there's no odds listed on the UFC website for that.
Is this a heavyweight? Oh, no.
It's a featherweight bout.
Featherweight, okay.
Yes. So what do you got on that one?
How do you say the last name? Shailan?
Yeah, just go with Shailan.
Shailan, 29, 39 and 10, 4-5 China top team, 3-fight win streak. Kazaka Wrestling. He's part of the northern part of China, so it's near like Russia, Mongolia, and so he's got like a lot of Russian wrestling background up there. Steve Garcia is 30, 13-5, 3-5 Jackson Winklejohn MMA win over Chase Hooper. Okay, because I saw Chase, I thought it was Chase Sherman. That's why I got confused. But yeah, I like that Shailen's got the wrestling background. I'm not really familiar with him, but I'm gonna go with him because I think wrestling wins fights sometimes.
Okay. I'm gonna pick Steve Garcia. I think he's going to keep him at bay and piece him up on the feet. And looking at their records, Shailan has a lot of fights. It looks like 49 fights. That's a lot of fights, man, to Steve Garcia. So I think that he's got a lot of mileage on him. Steve Garcia, it looks like he's pretty young in the game, and I've seen him fight before. I like his style. I do like his style, but I do agree with you. If Shaylin gets him on the ground, could be over for Garcia. I don't know. I haven't seen his transitions and his grappling as far as escaping, being on the ground, being on the bottom. So I can't recall, but I'm still going to go with Steve Garcia on that one by a decision.
Okay.
And last in the fight game, we have a women's strawweight bout: Jacqueline Amorim versus Sam Hughes. And let's see what we got here. That is women's strawweight bout. No odds on that one.
Okay, Jacqueline is 27, 6-0. American top team. She's from LFA. Sam Hughes is 30, 7-5, 205 Fortis MMA. Lost to Pereira Rodriguez. That's pretty much all I have on them. Not really familiar with either one of them, but I like LFA. I'm gonna go with Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, I think I'm going to go with her because for one reason, they put her on this huge card as a debut. That's the reason why. So they must see something really special in her. And I've seen Sam Hughes take a lot of punishment. She's pretty tough, very durable, very gritty. She doesn't have super striking skills. She's not impressive like, like she's not super impressive to me, but she does have a lot of heart, and she's young in the game as well. But if they're putting a debut on a card like this, there's something there. Even though I'm looking at a silhouette on their website, there's not even a picture of her. So I'm gonna go with Jacqueline. All right, man. Well, it's gonna be a super card, you guys. And Nando and I were talking, and there's something else we want to bring up that's pretty big news, and I'm sure most of the MMA world has heard about it so far, and that is the purchase of the WWE with under the umbrella. What's the name of the company? The big company?
WME, isn't it, or Endeavor?
Endeavor. Yeah. So Endeavor now owns the UFC and WWE. They've got the majority shareholders, so they're the boss. They got 51%, and that makes them the boss. So what are your thoughts on that purchase?
I think that's interesting. I think that might be why a lot of people are signing these huge, long contracts where you think they're about to retire. And it will be easier because it's the same company to do crossover, to have some stuff for some UFC fighters to maybe not fight, but go over there, some storylines. I think it's going to be easier. And I think with the women fighter, it would be really good because, you have some good, like, I remember being a kid and remembering when, who was it? Ken Shamrock went over to WWE, and I was like, what the heck? He's getting everybody in the ankle lock. And I was like, yeah, that's one of my guys over there.
Yeah, well, and Ronda Rousey, and who was the other girl that was on her team, the 4 horsewomen?
Shayna Baszler?
Baszler, yeah, she became a champ over there at WWE.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she became a champ. She lost it, but she's won it a few times. And Ronda Rousey, of course. So to me, it's a huge advantage for people that are under the UFC banner to, like you said, if they're finishing up their careers as far as UFC goes and true competition, but they have great personalities, they can transition over to WWE and have like Ronda Rousey, have a great career over there and still continue to make money. But I think from a business perspective, it was a very smart move because the WWE has a huge following. I mean, they can fill a stadium of 60,000 people, for an event. So they have a huge following. But also, when you have 2 of the biggest names in sports entertainment, these fighters are going to want to be part of the Endeavor, under the Endeavor umbrella, because then now all of a sudden they have more options, because now before this happened, if the UFC cut you or you fought out your contract, then you become a free agent, and then you're going to all these other fight organizations, PFL, Bellator, One, all of these other ones. Your pay goes significantly down unless you're a superstar. But it goes significantly down, and nobody talks about that. They only rail on UFC, fighter pay. You don't hear anybody else arguing about the other ones until they hear what their fighters are actually getting paid. But then you still never hear anything. It's still dump on the UFC.
Yeah, man, I think Francis made a horrible decision. If I'm Francis and I'm like, what?
Yeah. There's been a lot of chatter about him, not getting a fight, because, well, the big thing was when they stripped him of the belt, he didn't have that clout anymore to, okay, if I want to fight the UFC heavyweight champion, make some real money.
So when you're in a contract with that, does he have to wait a certain amount of time before he can get signed? Like it used to be in wrestling, like when Bret Hart went from WWE to WCW, he had to wait like 8 months before he could be on the show.
Yeah, and all contracts are different depending on who the guy is or the girl, but they could have all kinds of clauses in there. Different varying types of clauses. Like you can fight for PFL and One, but you can't fight for Bellator for 2 years or whatever. And I don't know if that's realistic or not, but I do know there is a grace period that they can write into a contract that you can't fight anywhere for this amount of time. But I think the Endeavor, they're just corralling all of the big sports, and they're growing, because when you looked at the amount of money that the UFC is now worth, that Endeavor's owned them for what, 3 years or something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. But they bought them for $4.2 or $4.5 billion. Now they're worth 12.5. So they've tripled. Come on, man. They've tripled their worth in that sort of period of time. And now with the WWE and having those eyeballs from WWE fans starting to look at UFC fans or UFC or MMA fighting, that's only going to help them. I don't think it's going to hurt them. But I think, like you said, they can do these crossovers on promos and even fighting now, because what's to stop them? Nothing's to stop them. And if they throw Conor McGregor in there, if they throw a Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, all those guys can make buku bucks over there too. And so who's not going to want to get, if you're a fighter, Nando, okay, and which organization are you going to try to get into?
Yeah.
You're going to try and get, because if you're looking at longevity, if you're looking at other more opportunities, you're going to obviously go with the big dog, right? Try and get in with the UFC, because if you make the bosses happy, fight good, have a great personality, then the world is kind of your oyster, right?
Yeah. Poor Bellator.
Poor Bellator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're probably going. Oh.
They're like Scott Coker, Strikeforce. He's with he's always competing against the UFC. Never wins.
Well, I view those guys, and it's no slam on their fighters by any means. They have great fighters there. I'm not trying to slam anything, but it's almost like they don't really think. They try to think outside of the box, but they don't have maybe the investment, the money to do the things that they want to do, like really want to do. Because I know that's a big thing when you have funding backing you up, which the UFC, they kind of earned their own thing. But then when they were purchased by Endeavor, They injected a whole ton of money, and it's very seldom that we don't do our podcasts every week, because they're putting on events. And how do you compete? How does Bellator and all these other organizations compete when the UFC's throwing on cards every single week?
Yeah, they have more fights every week than they don't. Like, this was 1 week where they didn't have a fight, and how many fights that we've done in a row, like 8 episodes in a row, and then now 1 week off, and then they come back with such a big card.
Yeah. Well, and before we end the podcast today, let's talk a little bit about Ngannou, because there's a lot of chatter about him, and a lot of people, like you mentioned earlier, thought he made a huge mistake. Tell me your thoughts on that. Why do you think that?
I think he was planning on that fight with Fury. I don't think Fury's going to fight him. If any fight he needs to get, he needs to fight Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, this is not what I say, but a lot of boxing fans say he's not very skilled. He has a great punch and can knock you out, but he's not the most skilled fighter. That's what Ryan Garcia said, Francis. So don't kill the messenger. But I think that's the fight you should have, because you can possibly win that. If you can win that, then that brings you back. You're going to make a bunch of money. I think PFL is good, but PFL is a tournament. You're going to join a company that's a tournament. So you didn't want to fight. You're going to have to at least fight 3 times in a year.
Well, did you see the comments from the owner of the Bare Knuckle Fighting?
You don't want those fists.
So they offered him to come over to Bare Knuckle Fighting, and he said his asking price is not realistic, and so that's going to be the big hitch, because you always see it in boxing. That's the biggest problem with boxing. Whoever the favored fighter is or the superstar is, they're saying, I want 90% of the purse, and you get 10%. And they're like, and I think that's been the holdup with all these guys with Ngannou, because he's like, I'm the name, I'm the guy. I want 50%, I want 60%. They're like, dude, you're not a name. You're not a name here. You're not a name. And that's why he's been like starting to flounder, is because he's like, I'm the name, I'm the guy. You fight me, eyeballs are coming. And so I want the lion's share of that contract. And those guys that have been fighting there, they're like, you're not the name, dude. I'm the name. And that's what and then they're just doing this, and they can't come to an agreement. But somebody was saying in one of those reports that Ngannou is his own management. And those dudes, if you don't know business, they're sharks. Those dudes are sharks, and they know little things, and when it comes to contracts, if you don't have a lawyer that is steeped in business contracts, you're going to get raked over the frickin' coals. It may look all good, and you may see that bottom line. Yeah, but there's clauses in those contracts, and you have to know them inside and out, because if they know you don't, they're going to put all kinds of stuff in there, man. And next thing you know, you're locked in. And that's what they do with a lot of UFC guys, a lot of these other fighters. They're like, here you go. That money looks really good. Yeah, just sign on the dotted line, and you're in the UFC, brother. And they sign on the dotted line, and then all of a sudden they're going, And you know what it reminds me of? I remember years ago, there was a dude, he was on American Idol, okay? And he won American Idol. He was just played this acoustic guitar, kind of a one-man band type of a dude, wrote all of his own music and stuff like that. And he won. Well, when Pepsi started making their push down in Ogden on 2-5, they had a big old Pepsi parade. And I'm talking everything Pepsi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they had a float, a big old Pepsi float. And that dude, I think his name was Aiken or something like that. He was on it,
Aiken?
I can't remember his name. He was popular for a minute, but he was on the float, doing the parade. And then I saw an interview with him like a couple of months later, and he was saying how the American Idol owned his soul. Like he couldn't do anything, and it all had to be under American Idol's banner. And that's why he had to do. He was talking about that parade that he had to be a stooge in the parade. But he didn't. You don't think about that when you're trying to climb your way to fame, right? You don't think about that. It's just like somebody looks at you, you're like all about it. And Ngannou, he has some God-given talents, but if he doesn't have proper representation, they're going to get it. They're going to take it from him. It doesn't matter who it is. They're going to, if they're interested in you, they're going to. It's to their advantage to take advantage, right? And I think that's where he's at right now. So, and now, Chael Sonnen even said, "Hey, Ngannou, call Uncle Dana and tell him you want to come back into the fold. You're sorry, and get back in there because now they have WWE. You'd be great in WWE too."
Yeah, well, what's going to happen is he's going to go there and go, "All right, I'll take what you guys offer me," and Dana's going to be like, "I'm not offering you that anymore."
Yep.
You see what this is? You know how to divide this in half. You get half.
If that.
Yeah. You get half.
Yeah, we'll give you 7 figures for 3 fights. And then if you win, then we'll talk about upping it. But you're gonna be with us for 8 fights.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fight John Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. All right, guys, we have had a blast today, and we kind of. I don't know about you, Nando, but I kind of go through withdrawals if we're not doing this on the weekly. Because while you even mentioned, you were kind of lost. What's going on? Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah, I'm reading all these things. I'm like, where is Countdown? When's the Countdown? And then Sunday it came on. I watched it. I was like, okay, those are good fights.
See, and I'm planning on going to Fight Week in Vegas, and they haven't even announced the card yet, and I'm chomping at the bit. I already got my hotel reservations and everything. And
when do you think they'll have it locked down?
So Nico
asked me.
I'm looking every day.
I said it should be completely locked down a month and a half out, but there's always changes within a month.
Yep. But
you should have your top 3 fights.
I'm hoping it's Jones and Stipe as the main fight on that card, because that'll be really cool to see that one. I'd like to see John Jones live. That'd be pretty cool. So we'll see, but they haven't posted it yet. But it says that's usually a heck of a card, because that's a big deal. So we'll see. But I'm waiting to buy tickets. Come on, let's go UFC. Come on.
All right, come on, Uncle Dana.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for watching Knuckle Sandwich MMA. Like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you after the fights, because we're going to do a recap. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot to talk about on this card. So we're going to do a recap on that for you guys. And I'm going to try, and Nando, see if let's try doing the reaction video again, man. See what it looks like, and then try and put something together.
Okay, we'll see.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you guys on the flip side. Ciao for now. Bye.